I'm sorry. You all know I've been sick for the past few weeks. I did mention that on Twitter. If you don't follow me over there, then I mean, there's my Twitter. You don't have to do anything. That's one of the things people hate about me. I never really advertise other forms of social media like that because I really don't care. You want to go over there and check me out, check me out. If you don't, stay over here on my YouTube. It doesn't matter. It's okay. In better news, we have the songs playlist, and we got a lot to talk about because I was supposed to upload one of these like sometime last month and I didn't do it. I know the first thing y'all probably want me to talk about.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. All right, before we get into the video, I needed to tell y'all guys about this new track with Denzel Curry and IDK, Once Upon a Time freestyle. This thing is fucking amazing. Hip hop beat galore. These two are flowing like crazy. There's bars here. The flows are amazing. Check this song out first before you get into anything else. This thing is crazy, all right? That's all I wanted to say. Continue with the video.
It's the JoJi album, the Ballads one. I heard it. For those of you who've been following my journey with JoJi, you know that my biggest issue with him for the most part has been his inability to separate himself from the track. Being a lo-fi artist, that's something that I find like a lot of people have an issue with. And a lot of the lo-fi artists, I feel there's a bit of fear in separating themselves from the beat itself. There's this kind of lovely little relationship people have with lo-fi music in itself that kind of demands that it be a little bit more low-key, kind of demands that it not be so abrasive, so, you know, big and cinematic. I guess that's one of the appeals of it. And I find that JoJi, for the most part, for an artist to be so loved as he is, didn't really go outside of that demographic too much for me to merit all the praise that he had been receiving. But when I did check out his music, I found that there was a little bit more of a grand nature to it. So it made me want to check it out that much more. It had a little bit more of a cinematic approach to it, especially on Slow Dancing in the Dark. That song is great. So I guess I wanted him to explore that world a little bit more, but I find on his album Ballads, although it does kind of try to go against that, it just falls prey to that same nature. I feel like JoJi, for the most part, goes back into those same turtle shells and those same safe spaces where he's able to kind of hide behind the beat. And when he doesn't do that, he kind of comes off like other artists, like the intro track, I believe, or the second track, I believe, on that album Ballads, kind of gave me a Khalid impression. For the most part, I think a large portion of this album worked just in the sense that it gives you this new world, but doesn't necessarily take you anywhere. And that's probably my biggest issue with it. I still love JoJi, and I'm still looking forward to more of the music, but I'm really interested in where he could take a cinematic album while also maintaining a presence over it at the same time. That's pretty much my biggest problem with this project. But I still like Slow Dancing in the Dark, and I still like Come Through. Those are probably my favorite tracks off of it. J.I.D featuring J. Cole off Deez came out yesterday. Amazing track. They're both going off lyrically. I posted my initial thoughts on it, my first reaction, my first listen to it yesterday, but this was such a great song. Like, both of them show technical rapping ability. I'm even more impressed with J. Cole that he was able to match up. I'm not really surprised, but I'm just impressed. I'm abreast. Vince Staples with his FM project. I love this project. It's probably gonna go on my list for one of my albums of the year. It's so short, it's so simple, it's so not sweet, and it's Vince's ability to make a fun album while still explaining the dangers of California, Long Beach, the area that he's from, all while referencing it musically. It has a strong West Coast vibe to it, and this is probably the most accessible Vince Staples has ever been in just a 22-minute dose. Yes, I'm using lines from my own album review. I can do that because it's me. I'm telling you, Vince shows with this album that he's not only able to play the radio game, but he's able to do it in a way that doesn't compromise his musical or artistic integrity to the extent that he's making trash music, or he's making music just including a bunch of features just to get these people with big names on his record. He's actually utilizing these artists in a way that appeals to the sound of the West Coast, and I love it.
Wait, let's say, come out, let's play Draco. That's a young nigga gun.
You all know I wasn't a big fan of the Metro album. I thought that he could probably experiment with artists that kind of take the music outside of the range of where he's already made music with the artists that we already know he's made music with, so it doesn't come across like it's the same song or a rehash of the same song idea that they made a couple years ago. That makes sense. Just play it back and then you'll see what I was trying to say. I feel like if he worked with artists that didn't already have a relationship with him and they'd already established music it wouldn't sound so similar to things that they've already created. But this album just comes off to me like an updated version of songs that he's created in the past. So for the most part, you know, and there are some songs on here that I'm disappointed with. Go watch the review for it. But there are a couple of songs on here that I really do enjoy, two of which include Travis Scott. Also love his aesthetic. Also love the Sway Lee song Dreamcatcher. The dreamy-like atmosphere to it. It lets you drift off. Travis Scott brings you back into the song with his flow. It's amazing.
Man, it's crazy on my youngest. Gotta move with a gun. Drop it down. Where you do it, know you come from out of town.
The new Tory Lanez album that came out, Love Me Now, it's not really a change up from what Tory Lanez has been doing the past 2 or 3 years. While I do like Tory Lanez, I feel like he's just remaking the same album with the same I told you aesthetic, trying to, you know, respond to everyone who told him that he wouldn't be something or make something of himself when he was younger. Yes, Tory Lanez, we get it. You weren't on before, but you're on now. Let it go. I feel like half of the music that he makes is just a response to people that told him that he wasn't able to do so, and him reiterating the fact that I told you I was gonna make it. And that's again what this album tends to be. Even though some of it's just like kind of relationship driven, I feel like it's still a response to people that told him that he couldn't do it before. However, one thing that Tory Lanez does have going for him is his flow, his ability to entertain for a track. Even though I feel like I've heard it a million times, I don't mind hearing it again. And there are a few songs off this record that I really do enjoy. Some being She Told Me, The Runoff. I think his flow and his ability to make rapping seem like it's second nature, or almost as if it's another language that he's speaking, it's just pretty enjoyable to me. We ain't had this much fun in a while.
Hey. Well, look, I love my baby and I love my baby mama. But it's like every time I can do what I wanna. All like that bitch you wanna.
I don't remember when Father came out with this album, but he's got a song off of it called Only You that has this creepy, haunting atmosphere to it. Also another cut with Rico Nasty. I don't know why I like these songs so much, but I do. And they have kind of this simple replay factor to them. He's not saying anything on these songs, but I just think it's pretty simple, and I think you should check it out, so go do that. Future and Juice WRLD came out with a collab tape. Again, wasn't really impressed with it, but I do think for the most part, Juice WRLD was trying to just make songs on Future's trap, you know, aesthetic, and while that did work for some songs, I feel like a vast majority of these tracks, they didn't really come together as artistic duos to make a world or a sound that hadn't already existed separately. I feel like this project together was a disappointment. Maybe if it were all a Juice WRLD album, I might feel different, or if it were all a Future project, I might feel different, but them two together, I just thought that they'd be able to come together and create something, and they really did. But that song, Different, featuring Young Bands, is crazy. I do love it. It sounds like a warped, backwards beat, grimy. It's so dark. It's just so, it's nasty. If you haven't heard of Chester Watson, I guess the best way to describe him is like a young Earl Sweatshirt, but just a lot less lyrically gifted. At the moment, not trying to insult him, I think there is this aesthetic to his music, as far as the ideology behind it, that brings forth the idea that he's kind of smarter than the people around him, or he's kind of smarter than the people that are listening to the music to some degree. Now, I'm not going to blame him too much for this aesthetic because it seemed like he was younger when he created his earlier work, but that idea is still somewhat present in his most recent project. I believe it's called Project O or something like that, but the new one is called Underworld. He's got interesting beat selections, some of which are very old. His voice kind of carries this low tone, even though it's not actually that deep. Kind of helps to add a dark aesthetic to the music around him that might give this more hollow impression in general. I'm telling you, the music might come off a little edgy, so if you don't want to hear that, be warned. I'm sorry, that was way too loud for no reason. Just released a new EP, well, part 2 of her previous EP, I Used to Know Her. You think you fucking funny. It's not funny. That's a horrible joke. I don't know what that is. Anyway, she's got these songs off there, a couple of which that are kind of like, I guess they include strings. Like one, I think the intro song kind of includes these strings, and I don't know why it makes it easier for me to take it, because her voice has this, she just seems like a natural R&B artist. So hearing her kind of sing really softly over a beat that's not so traditionally found in R&B, I guess, makes me enjoy it a little bit more. There are a couple of songs off this album like that, but for the most part, it's very minimalistic production. Nothing that you haven't heard before on the EP as a whole.
She shot me down, bang, bang. Fuck now, bang, bang. Ride around, twist like. Red Y'all don't know what I've been through.
That was Don Toliver off of his, I don't actually know what this project is. I don't know if it's an album, an EP, a mixtape. But that's called Donny Womack. Don Toliver had a feature off of Astroworld, Travis Scott's new record, new album. And there was a track that they had together called Can't Say. He did a beautiful feature. He sounds like a mix of Akon and ASAP Ferg in one body. I love his voice. I think it's so eccentric. I think so much energy, his ability to kind of match the beat and also add such, he just has a fun voice. It's loaded with energy. It's so acrobatic, his vocals. Like, oh my God, please listen to Don Toliver. Masego is a house, trap, R&B, jazz artist that I don't know how he makes this music, but it literally sounds like a fusion of so many different genres in one song. If you listen to the track TADOW, that shit is baby maker central. It's got jazz, it's got house, it's got R&B, it's jazzy and sexy. It is crazy. He's got more, but I'm gonna let you go down his rabbit hole. Wow, whoa, that sound is so much better in my head. Jesus Christ. I know y'all wanted to hear my thoughts on Mick Jenkins. Relax. I'm sorry. I listened to the project, right? And Mick Jenkins, beautiful artist. Love Mick Jenkins. I don't know why there's just such an emptiness when it comes to the idea of this project. Even though I know it's Pieces of a Man, I know a lot of it is very charged by ideology. He's got this one lyric, I think it's off of Gwendolyn's Apprehension, that says he's a flower, he could grow, but he don't want to grow. Kind of like these ideas of acknowledging that there's more to a person, but them not really wanting to invest the time and energy it takes to really find themselves so they can blossom into this new man or this new person. And I think the overall idea behind this project is there's more to a man than just one thing, than just violence, than just all these other things. But there's nothing wrong with honing in on a few of these things and, you know, kind of highlighting them without making them seem like they're bad, but just to highlight them all equally. If you're going to highlight something specifically like violence or something specifically like sex, you know, there's more to a man than just these few things. And I do love the simple approach that he took to the music this time around, because there are a couple of songs off this album that I do really enjoy, especially Padded Locks that features Ghostface. I think they demolished that track together. Oh my God. If you hear the original sample from Bad Bad Not Good, listen to that, because even that sounds incredible. And I do think for the most part, Mick, his rapping is like, has improved so much. I think like he makes sure to kind of tackle the ideas and points at their core, and more so, there isn't really there's not much room in this project as filler, but I do feel like some of the songs just kind of go on. You know, in the beginning of this album, it was just kind of like open mic piece where he's describing like what they're talking about in the crowd, or kind of like, you know, it's just kind of, I don't want to say it's overcomplicated, because it's not, but I do feel like it's got like this a bit of a prima donna effect to it, like it's a little bit more important, or it's making this more grand statement than it really is. I don't want to say it's not, but I just feel like it's aware of itself too much. You know what I mean? I feel like it's aware that it exists too much, if that makes any sense at all. But I do still really enjoy this project, and you should definitely check it out. Mick Jenkins is a great artist, and this will definitely be making my honorable mentions of this year. Currency and Freddie Gibbs came out with a collab project called Fetti. Really enjoy this project. Love the production from Alchemist, and that's pretty much it. I don't really have anything else to say about this project other than please give it a fucking listen. But there's, for the most part, a very atmospheric quality to it, giving Freddie Gibbs and Currency this ability to kind of play off of each other. They both kind of have this Don gangsta mentality, and they're handling the track pretty simply. They're not overdoing it. It's pretty laid back. They're just doing what they do best, I think. And having a producer like Alchemist, I think, gives them the ability to kind of just talk over these tracks, because it doesn't really feel like they're trying to rap. One of my favorites on this track, though, on this track listing, being Willie Lloyd, because why not?
About the West, in Chicago, might fuck around, ball all night, round and go put 500 things on the jet. I just picked the.
Make sure you check out Now. I think I'm saying that right. R&B artist released a great project called Saturn. Yeah, it was called Saturn. Orbit is beautiful. Yellow of the Sun is beautiful. I love both of these songs so much. Please give them a listen. Try them out. Please. You are going to die when you hear Orbit. At nighttime, just or if you want to go outside, or you're on a walk and you have this open field, open view, listen to these tracks, please. I beg of you, if you do nothing else, listen to this. Make sure you give Rock Marciano's new project, the Behold of a Dark Horse, I think that's what it's called. Track Sampson and Delilah. It definitely has this atmospheric quality to it that it's like a looming, haunting kind of effect while he's rapping, and I love his voice. He kind of reminds me, he kind of maintains and carries the MF Doom aesthetic, you know, the rapping ability that I like a lot. And last but certainly not least is Takeoff's project, the Last Rocket. Now, when it comes to this project, I'm not necessarily impressed by anything. I wasn't expecting anything grand. And I definitely was hoping for Offset, or not Offset, but Takeoff to have the most contribution to his solo project. But the very first track, I think, starts out with Quavo. There's just a lot of this project that's just like dumbed to the point that it just shouldn't even exist in the first place. I like it to some degree, but for the most part, it's just another average Migo take on the world. And if you've heard it with the Migos, then that means you've heard it without it. They're not really bringing that much to the table separately than they would together. But I do like a couple of singles off of this project. It's definitely better than Quavo's album, and I'm excited to see what Offset can do with his drop solo December 14th. But as it stands right now, the Migos haven't really made a strong impression, or don't really seem to be making that long-lasting of an impression if they were to branch off into their solo careers. But go check out Vacation and go check out None of This, because those are still pretty good tracks. You know, take it for what it is. It's not that much. It's just a Takeoff project. And that's going to be the video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see you next time. And that's it. I gave you a lot of songs today, so don't tell me I never did anything for you, all right? You give me some songs too. Let me know what you're listening to. And I'll see y'all next time. I'm still sick. I don't know if you can hear it. Suck my